Testing, testing.
Love. Anyway, so that's my excitement.
Oh, yeah, I can see
Are we
everybody.
good when I start
Yeah.
to go?
Oh, that's so
Am I still
cool.
reading?
So when I'm at home, I can see everybody,
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah. See. Oh, there, I don't want to be out there. Take my camera stop. There we go.
Is that what
I don't want to look at myself, that's for sure.
The attendance, Nancy.
Yeah, I know. Makes it look like a bigger crowd. It's not that many people, actually.
No, there's not.
Interesting.
All right, so everybody ready? Can we start? All right.
All right, so hello, everybody. Jen, for the record, 107, call meeting to order. As I always do before we get into the substantive portions of the agenda, just some announcements at the get-go. This is an announcement that I'm frankly saddened that I have to start these board meetings with these types of announcements every single time. But another tragedy. Another officer was murdered in the line of duty the night before the two Edmonton officer state funerals. Sergeant Maureen Breau, 20 years of service with the Sûreté du Québec Provincial Police Service, was stabbed to death by a suspect late last month, March 27th in Louisville, Quebec. Sergeant Breau is the ninth police officer murdered in the line of duty in the last 6 months. 7 of those 9 were murdered by firearms and 2 by knife. I think I've opened the last 2 board meetings with similar statements in Edmonton, in London, what happened with our officers here, and it's indicative of kind of the current state of the dangerous state of policing, not just in our city, not just in our province, but across this country. And so with that, we mourn with the Sûreté du Québec Provincial Police Service, the community and the greater policing community in Canada, the proliferation of knives and guns being used to perpetrate violence, particularly against police in our community and communities across our country, is not only just problematic, but it's extremely dangerous and worrisome. It's a recurring theme that we've dealt with time and time again, and this board recently signed a letter with the past chief, Steve Williams, petitioning the federal government, the Prime Minister specifically, to enact certain reforms to the Criminal Code of Canada, specifically with bail reform dealing with violent, prolific, repeat offenders. I'm not under any illusion that we'll ever be able to eliminate these things from happening, but we can take steps to mitigate this from happening. And so with that, on behalf of the London Police Services Board, if I can be so bold as say the London Police Service, the residents of London, our deepest, most sincere, most heartfelt condolences to our friends in Quebec for their loss. And I hope, I pray, and I hope that we don't have to start our next board meeting with a similar announcement, but yeah. Segueing from that, the mayor sends his regrets. He won't be able to join us today for our board meeting. He's with he's at the big city AGM, attending to business there. So he sends his regrets. On a happier note, Michael Vader just informed me officially that tomorrow, this is the last day of Ramadan. And so tomorrow will be Eid. So for all our Muslim citizens in London and surrounding area, congratulations on the end of Ramadan. And to all those non-Muslims, Tim Hortons and Starbucks lines are going to get real busy tomorrow. So if you're thinking for the past month, why is the wait not that long? Yeah, well, yeah, enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed it, right? So yeah, happy Eid and a happy Ramadan, end of Ramadan to all those observing. So with that, let's get into the formal agenda there. So first and foremost, is there any disclosure of interest by any members with regards to any conflicts of interest they want to disclose? Okay, seeing none. Introduction of new business. Do any members have any new business that they want to advance for today's board meeting? Okay, seeing none. There's no. Yeah. Sure, we can. Yeah, we can deal with that. You know what, Steve? Sorry, Councilor Lehman. Why don't we add your comments about the walk-along that you took as an item of new business? I was initially going to just kind of yield the floor and give it to you as part of the chair's report, but why don't we just add it as an agenda item? So can I get a motion to add Councillor Lehman's verbal report to the board about his walk-along experience, moved by Member Branscombe, seconded by Vice Chair Walker. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. I don't know where we'll put it. We'll just put it later on the agenda there, maybe after the chair's report or the administrator's report. We'll do that there. Okay. Okay, moving on. Moving on with that, in your package, you'll have the minutes from the last board meeting. Are there any questions, revisions required for the minutes?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Moved by Member Branscombe, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. Seeing anyone, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, the minutes are carried there. All right. Agenda item number 5, I'm going to look over to Vice Chair Walker for a femicide verbal update and Canadian Femicide Observatory for Justice and Accountability document. Over to you, Vice Chair Walker.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. The board had unanimously supported advocating with the Government of Canada to define femicide in the criminal code and to pass legislation that would make femicide illegal, which it is not right now. So we've been working very hard with the Canadian Femicide Observatory for Justice and Accountability. They've distributed a paper. And we've met now with the Status of Women Ministry and also with Justice. And we are continuing on with our discussions. And so that's a brief update around that. I did want to say that for those that may not know, femicide at its basic core, at the core is around, oh, thank you. Now I've just lost my train of thought. So what was I going to say? So femicide, the definition of femicide is about the killing of women and girls because they are women and girls. And so it's a very specific crime. And usually, although not always, does include an intimate partner. And so just by way of statistics, I thought you would be interested in knowing that in 2022, 184 women and girls were murdered, killed by femicide, and between 2018 and 2022, 850 women and girls were victims of femicide. So this is a really huge issue in society, and there's definitely a role for London Police Service to play in addressing this issue as well as society. This is not just a police issue, it's a societal issue. And so I did want to advise of one issue, which is that violence and femicide is recognized as a public health issue, as outlined by the World Health Organization in 2002. And I was wondering if you would be open to passing a motion that would request that I meet with Alex Sumner of the Middlesex London Health Unit to discuss whether he would also recognize this as a public health issue. And just, there used to be a medical officer of health, and he did actually acknowledge this as a public health issue, but that was turned around when his successor took over. And his name was Dr. Graham Pollock, and he did great work in the community around women's issues. And I think it would be important to have the support of the Middlesex London Health Unit. So that's just my ask for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Walker. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the Vice Chair's report? So I guess my question is only one of clarity, right? So when we're talking about a public health issue, is that a legislative question, or is this like, was it? Can you provide some clarity in terms of what is meant by that?
Yep. So I'm just asking if we can include something to give me some, okay, to meet with Dr. Summers to discuss any potential for recognizing femicide as a public health issue. And so it's just a local public health issue. It's not giving him the authority to decide based on anybody else. But what we know is that femicide is not just criminal justice. It's not just Board of Health. It's just not politicians. It requires everybody to come together and work towards resolving the issue. So basically, I'm just asking permission to meet with him and discuss it.
Thank you. Member Branscombe.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy for me to go, or Vice Chair to go and meet with him. I don't think it's got really anything to do with the police service board, though. That's a separate motion from us, advocating to support this. So I'm not sure how they dovetail, but I think you should go and meet him and talk to him as a private citizen who's quite interested in this issue. That would be my point of view on it. So
Thank you. Response or follow-up from anybody?
I'm happy with that. I just don't want to be undermining the board by going over and having a meeting without advising you.
Anything? No? Okay. So then procedurally, we can dispense with the need for a motion.
Yep.
You can go meet with Dr. Sumners as a private citizen, and if you want to report back, you can report back.
That's
So,
awesome. Thank
okay.
you so much.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate that.
All right, so just procedurally speaking, I just need a motion that the board receives for informational purposes Vice Chair Walker's verbal update on the board's femicide initiative, moved by Member Branscombe, seconded by Councilor Lehman. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 6, you'll note in your package that there's, I believe, 3 pieces of correspondence. I'll dispense with reading them verbatim, but the first one, I kind of alluded to it in my opening statements, was a letter that I sent on behalf of the board to Acting Chief McIntyre with regards to the 2 brave officers that were shot during the Kipps Lane incident. Again, I'll dispense with reading it. Sorry, thank you. I'll dispense with reading it verbatim, but just to further reinforce our how eternally grateful we are for those officers that were involved in that incident, specifically, and all the London Police Service members for the sacrifices and the risks that they take every single day protecting the citizens of London. So we just wanted to put language to that via a letter, and I appreciate that you sent that over to them. So thank you so much, Acting Chief McIntyre. The second was a letter that we sent to Sergeant Zabian, who I've had the benefit of knowing for many years before he was a member of the police service, about some of the exemplary work that he's done reaching out to different communities within London, specifically in generally speaking, but also specifically in the context of the municipal recruitment process there. And so without commenting on the actual process itself, we just wanted to commend Sergeant Zabian for the work that he did in terms of reaching out to provide access to communities that maybe historically haven't had access to these types of these opportunities. And so a letter on behalf of myself, on behalf of the board, to Sergeant Zabian for his incredible work there. So and then, just some responses that we received from Sergeant Zabian and others there. So again, I'm not going to spend time going through the correspondence in the packages, in the public package as well. So does anybody have any questions with regards to, or comments with regards to any of the communication that's in the package? Perfect. So motion to receive is moved by Member Branscombe, seconded by Vice Chair Walker. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you kindly. Looking over to you, Acting Deputy Chief Reynolds, we're going to go to the 2023 first quarter complaints report.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as you're aware, this report is for the Police Services Board, which directs that the Chief of Police is responsible in regards to administering the complaint system and making sure that we update the board quarterly in regards to our compliance with the regulations. I will just take a minute to highlight 2 specific areas that you may have seen in the report. I did note that there was an increase in the allegations portions of misconduct in regards to YPR and chiefs from the previous 5 years. And I have looked into that, and I can report to the board that that is total to do with multiple officers being involved in one complaint. So the allegations are obviously increased if you have multiple officers, and some of them have multiple allegations against the same officer for different things of discipline. So then the other point I would like to make is you may have noted a huge, not huge, but a several increase over the last 5 years. It went from 13 to 15 to 14 to 18 to 44, and that is the screened out OIPRD complaints. I also looked into that, and the simple answer is the OIPRD deemed that our officers had either, number one, it wasn't police misconduct that could be investigated, or number two was a frivolous complaint, and that speaks to that increase. So my recommendation is that the board receives the report, information purposes, in compliance with the Police Services Act. Pending any questions.
Thank you for that report. Members, any questions or requests with regards to the report? Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I just had one question in regards to the number of unresolved. It was up quite a bit.
Yes, so those will be pending investigations that are still outstanding that obviously came in the first quarter and they haven't been completed yet. Just for your awareness, I will actually add to that answer as well, as the OIPRD gives us 120 days to investigate and report back, which still allows the extra 60 days in regards to meeting standards if it had to go to hearing or something. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Walker.
Not going to let it go, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Acting Deputy Chief Reynolds? Okay. Seeing none, I'll need a motion to move for the board receives the informational purposes of the 2023 first quarter complaints report. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Lehman moved, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Staying with you, sir, we are at the suspect apprehension pursuits mandatory quarterly report.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, excuse me. As you're aware, this report is submitted under London Police Service Board Policy 060 in regards to police pursuits. I can report that in the first quarter we had one pursuit, as you see by the report, that resulted in 5 criminal charges laid. There were no injuries and no damages as a result of that. But I would also like to take an opportunity to highlight that there were also 28 other incidents in the city in the first quarter where we could have initiated pursuit falling within procedure. However, our officers were diligent in finding other means to not engage in a pursuit. And the miraculous point here I want to make is that as a result of that, we still were able to lay 75 criminal charges and 15 provincial offenses by not engaging in those pursuits, and obviously protection of everyone, so our officers as well as the community. So pending any questions in compliance with board policy, I request that you receive the report for information.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Acting Deputy Chief Reynolds with regards to the report? I have one general question, if my colleagues would permit me to ask. It just deals with the kind of analytical predictive policing, and I know you mentioned in the report how it's difficult to, when we're talking about these types of pursuits, to actually predict it. Is there anything that, any tools kind of with predictive or analytics that could, or is this basically just kind of this is just the nature of the beast? It's just you kind of deal with it as it arises. I'm not just curious if there's any forecasting tools when it comes to that.
It's a great question. Thank you, and Chair, obviously through you. Obviously what we can be driving down a stolen vehicle is all of a sudden in front of you. So to predict that, you're not going to know you can drive into a parking lot. So I would have to say there's no tools that would prevent us from getting in those situations. Obviously, we can arrive at a robbery scene and all of a sudden we're behind a stolen vehicle. Decisions have to be made on the seriousness and everything like that in pursuing it. So in short, I would say hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, generally, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing no questions there, I'll need a motion to accept or receive the informational purposes of the 2023 first quarter suspect apprehension pursuits mandatory report. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Member Branscombe. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Staying with you, you're 1, 2, 3. Here we go. So
Thank you very
Crime
much.
Stoppers mandatory quarterly report.
Thank you, and Chair, through you. This is a quarterly report, obviously, that we submit to the board for their information. You know, there's really not much that I'm going to speak to in regards to this. As you will see by the numbers, I think in the first quarter last year, it was 278 versus 268. So there's really not been much change in regards to the report. So my recommendation request is that you receive the report for board information.
Thank you. Any questions for Acting Chief Reynolds Acting Deputy Chief Reynolds for with regards to his Crime Stoppers report? Nope. Okay. Can I get a motion that the board receives for informational purposes the 2023 first quarter Crime Stoppers mandatory quarterly report? Moved by Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Member Branscombe. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. I'm going to give you a break. I'll take the next one. All right.
Appreciate it, Chair.
Okay, all right. So agenda item number 10 deals with the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel monthly update. I sit on as the board representative on ARAP. And so we had our last meeting on April 5th. The meeting was, I would say, dominated by the entire discussion around the municipal appointee and some of the feedback that I received from members of ARAP were very passionate, strong feedback, direct feedback from ARAP. And for those who don't know, for members that may be listening in or members of the community that might be listening up, so it's the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel. The function of this panel, we have two. We have one called MHAP, which is the Mental Health Advisory Addiction Panel, and then we also have ARAP, which is the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel. These are panels or committees that their function is to advise the board with regards to their two areas. So one would be anti-racism, anti-oppression on the one hand, and then on the other hand, MHAP advises with regards to issues of mental health addiction, right? And then the committees meet and then they report back to the board. And then, so this is precisely what I'm doing with regards to ARAP. So we met on April 5th, a very full and frank and direct conversation about feedback from this panel about what they believed were important factors that should be taken into account by City Council with regards to the appointment of the seventh member to this board. I clarified to ARAP, and just for the sake of clarity, that the London Police Services Board itself does not appoint the seventh member. I explained to them the structure that we have three provincial appointees, Member Branscombe, Vice Chair Walker, and myself. There's three members from Council, Councillor Stevenson, Councillor Lehman, Mayor Josh Morgan, and then there's a seventh member who is a municipal citizen appointee. So although we receive that member as a voting member on the board itself has no say. We don't have a vote, whatever City Council decides. That'll be that. But I did say to them, and I did promise to them directly that I was going to express publicly at this board meeting that ARAP advises the board and that it is of a great deal of importance from them that the representative reflect the community at large. And when City Council sits down, and I know there was, I think SPPC met, was it this week or was it earlier this week? And I think it's been narrowed down to five members. And as you work yourself, City Council works through that process. It behooves me to relay to you what ARAP said, which is that they are very cognizant about the fact that the nominee or successful candidate ultimately should be reflective of the community, the diversity of the community as whole, right? And so I leave that with you. I'm passing that message on to our city councilors on that side of the table and city councilors at large. And that was the vast majority of the discussion at ARAP there. So if not exclusively, the entire discussion there. There was another piece of the discussion, which was extreme gratitude for the deliberate steps that were taken to generate 54 applicants who applied to that position. The fact that that was a historic number that to my knowledge, Ms. Foster has never, I don't think we've ever had 54 applicants for a position.
Correct.
And I think I alluded to it earlier about Sergeant Zabian and others. There's Ramina Morris at the City of London with the anti-oppression, anti-racism department, and a whole host of people that worked very strongly and very passionately to try to get that. And that's a byproduct of that we had 54 applicants from a cross section of the community that applied, when I think historically we're talking single digits, right? And so it's a testament to the hard work, the passion that they did. And so that was part of the discussion at ARAP as well, which was a recognition of those efforts there as well. So I have relayed that on to the board and would be pleased to answer any questions that any of the board members have with regards to ARAP there. So, okay, seeing none, can I get a motion? Thank you. Moved by member Branscombe, seconded by, I guess the motion is that you accept the ARAP report, right? So seconded by Councillor Lehman. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. All right, moving on to, well, I kind of segued into it for you there, Vice Chair Walker. MHAP.
You could have done the whole thing.
I could have done it,
Paul.
yeah,
You're just
absolutely.
perfect.
There you go. So MHAP.
So we also met on April the 5th and had a good discussion about a number of things. And ultimately we made a plan to receive a presentation related to London's whole of community system response, which is also known as London's Health and Homelessness Initiative. And so that will take place at the next meeting on May 3rd. And you may know that we have issued a call for community members to join MHAP. We've had 3 members, I think, who have moved on after serving their 2-year mandate, doing a phenomenal job of getting everything off the ground. And so we have put out this call for community members, which was only put out on Monday and has a May 1st closing date for applications from the community. And we're asking that people who have lived or living experience, as well as community members with professional experience in mental health and addictions, apply. And there is an advertisement for this on the board's Twitter account, and also there was some media around it recently, and as a result of that, there's been a large volume of applicants submitted already in the first 4 days, and that's really fantastic because it's a really great community we have in London with respect to responding to things like this, and I'm really grateful for all of those who have taken the time to respond. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Walker. Any questions for Vice Chair Walker with regards to the MHAP report? Okay, so I don't know if I technically need a motion, but I'll get a motion anyways. Could I get a motion to accept Vice Chair Walker's verbal report on MHAP, moved by member Branscombe, seconded by Councillor Lehman? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Chair verbal update. One item only, and it's I've said it, I think the last meeting or the last 2 meetings, very limited in terms of what I can disclose. It's just a brief update on the chief, deputy chief recruitment process. I can advise that the board had our final round of interviews just a few days ago, and we are on the cusp of being in a position to formally conclude this process. So we will be in a position to make a public announcement very soon. So just stay tuned, and we should have something shortly. So, but that's really the extent of what I can share at this point. So with regards to, I think that's it for the chair verbal report. Can I get a motion, unless there's any questions for me based on my verbal report? Question or motion?
Oh, no, I was going to move for a second.
Okay, so
Sorry.
motion to accept my verbal report, moved by Vice Chair Walker, seconded by member Branscombe. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Administrator verbal report, Ms. Foster, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So you touched on the city's, the street SPPC decisions. I just wondered if you wanted me to share the names of those
Yeah.
being contemplated. I have
sure.
those here.
Yeah, that's public information.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So just to add to your report. So Gita Kanaran, Ryan Goss, Joseph Wabajiji, hope I got that right, Stephen D'Amelio, and Michelle Anderson. So I'm told by our folks, our colleagues at the clerk's office, that the next, probably the May 9th meeting is when they would be in a position to make some decisions or at least do some interviews. Those folks are all going to be interviewed, and it would go to City Council potentially on May 16th. So we're looking at, I would say, maybe June to have our 7th board member in place here. Let's hope. The other thing quickly is that members Stevenson and Lehman, our counselors over here, did their first, and they'll do the second tonight, Citizens Academy class. So that is good news. And I don't know if this is a good time to add about
I was gonna say,
the
yeah,
OAPSB.
I was actually forgot to mention that in my chair announcement. I was gonna clean that up there, but
Yeah,
over to
okay.
you. All right.
Okay, so we just got word in an earlier meeting today. So Member Stevenson had put her name forward to represent our police service at the OAPSB, which is the Ontario Association of Police Services Board. So that's our umbrella organization in the province. And she got the most number of votes of everybody that applied in the province. So it's nice to have us a little bit more on the provincial map. In my time here, I haven't had a board member that has been in that role. So that's quite exciting. And she will be representing us sort of at the provincial table. And that we just got news of that this morning. So it's excellent. I appreciate her taking on extra responsibilities. And Mel and I will support you as much as we can in that for sure, so that you can, put us on the map and get our voice heard provincially. It's fantastic. And that's my report. Thank you.
I don't know if it qualifies as breaking news, but you got to break some news to the media right there, right there. So there's your headline, guys. There you go. All right. So, all right. So thank you for that report. Do any members have any questions for Ms. Foster with regards to the administrative report? All right. Seeing none, I'll need a motion moved by Member Branscombe to accept the administrative report, seconded by the fastest hand to my left there, Councillor Lehman. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Speaking of Councillor Lehman, we going to that new business agenda item. So Councillor Lehman had a walk along, and if you could provide an update to the board, and how did that go?
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair, to report back on my experiences with my walk along. Last Wednesday, I joined Constable Doug Schmidt and Constable Mike Romano as they performed their duties on our foot patrol. And I wanted to just bring back some of my observations of that experience. Before we left police headquarters here, I was fortunate enough to experience firsthand the extensive training that our police services goes through. First, on the firearms side, incredible to see how well prepared they are in the use of force, because high intense situations are called to, and they're not going out there without this incredible background to allow them to deal with the unknowns, which they might face in minimizing harm in the best way. Also, on the physical side, extensive physical training that I saw them go through, which allows them to use tactics without getting to, lethal enforcement. There were about 15 officers there going through their training, and it was very extensive. So it was good for me to witness and report back to the board on that. And I encourage us to continue to provide resources so to make sure that our officers are the best trained when they're out promoting safety in our community. Our area that we covered was pretty extensive. It was from Quebec Street on the east side, right out to Rideout on the west, and all the way down to the train tracks of Richmond, on the south, and then we were up, or I'm sorry, the north end, and then up to King Street. We got to on the south end. And during that time, I saw them engage with the issues that we all are well aware of, that we see on the streets and in areas. We went to places that were not just what we normally see in our day-to-day travels. We see what's going on in the streets, but we went to behind the buildings. We went to parks and deserted areas and places where, quite frankly, I wouldn't normally go. And what I saw from the officers was the incredible amount of compassion that they showed to those folks that are suffering out there. There was a personal connection made in every instance. It wasn't just walk by, it was stopping, engaging. And it was always on the level of, are you okay? What do you need? And then guidance maybe to some safe alternatives that they can find, and engaging with the city side, like London Cares, on how we can provide assistance. And that was met, quite frankly, with most cases, not with antagonism or conflict. It was, they were engaged. And I think that's the first step, is we have to give folks an area of trust and engagement that can lead to assisting them to get off the 24-hour cycle of misery. What I also saw was how well prepared our officers are. Before they went on their shift, they reviewed all the area statistics, people of interest, people are with outstanding warrants. They went out to doing their job very well informed of what they need to look for. Not just at the beginning, but also during their shift. We stopped at the patrol station on Dundas as well to get updates. So they're constantly updated. They're on their phones. They're checking in. They're making notes of what they see. They're aware of new folks in our community that they don't know, and they're making a connection there. So we know what's going on, and they know the police are aware of them, both from a safety standpoint and from a crime prevention standpoint, quite frankly. So we are addressing the visibility. They encountered the public. And what is the public? The public are business owners, pedestrians, people who work downtown, and those suffering downtown, the gamut. And the overall thing was a very positive experience. People from all those areas appreciate seeing our officers out on patrol. So I would just summarize with this. I'm impressed with the dedication and professionalism of our officers. And I encourage my fellow counselors, if they have the opportunity to do the same thing, I think it's very valuable. It was a 6-hour shift, a lot of walking. That's very, very impressive. Like, it went from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 at night. It was very thorough, but I think it's important for those on the board and politicians to experience firsthand what our officers are doing. So for me, it was extremely valuable and important exercise.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lehman. Any questions for Councillor Lehman with regards to his walk along there? I will say one thing. I haven't done a walk along yet, but when I first started with the board, I did a ride along, and I found it to be an eye-opening experience. I think there's a perception of what I'll speak for myself, but what maybe myself and the general public think that the police do on a day-to-day basis, maybe informed by Law and Order and others, right? But to actually see how every single, like, seemingly, like, there's small things that we think are seemingly small become very big. For me, it was a routine was a traffic stop for some highway traffic act violation turned into something much bigger. And then just to see the resource allocation that happened from something that was completely unexpected. And then in the span of, one incident turned into 7 officers dealing with something, and then to see how it actually played out here at headquarters, and then how to see, okay, well, there's a warrant piece, there's a court side. It's like one traffic stop turned into, and then just to see kind of the resource allocation and the professionalism. If I echo your sentiment, every single officer that I saw, and I was trying to be a fly on the wall, right? Despite the fact you guys gave me a vest, I felt, like I got some stuff done. But to see the professionalism on display by members of our service, to see the compassion, to see the level of knowledge, education, skill set. I mean, you really don't know until you know. And so I would encourage, echo that sentiment for anybody that hasn't had it. I did mine from a comfortable car seat, not walking around, right? But I'll have to do a walk along as well. But I just echo everything that you said, Councillor Lehman. It was just, they make us proud every day. So thank you. So no questions for Councillor Lehman. I know it's just a little update, but I'll ask anyways for a motion just for the record to accept Councillor Lehman's verbal report there. So moved by Member Branscombe, seconded by Vice Chair Walker. Any opposed? I can't imagine it would be. No. Okay. That is carried. That's the only item of new business there. So the next board meeting is Thursday, May 18th. Same time, 1 o'clock, and we'll go from there. So with that, I'll need a motion to adjourn. If I could get somebody to move that. Councillor Stevenson, seconded by former Councillor Branscombe, member Branscombe. I'm surrounded by current and past municipal candidates and councillors here. So that motion is carried. We'll see you May 18th. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you.